Hi, I'm Kara Silver with a quick look at what's happening this Saturday, December 9th, a busy day at the Leon County Public Library in Florida. That's where the recount of more than 40,000 disputed presidential ballots from Miami-Dade County begins. The Bush camp, meantime, is appealing the Florida Supreme Court's 4-3 decision ordering the recount. Well, 2 highly radioactive fuel rods are missing from the Millstone nuclear power plant, which sits just 11 miles off Long Island. Plant officials say they were removed in the 70s, but there's no record of where they went. 2 of Long Island's top high school students are headed to Washington today. The Smithtown and East Setauket teens are vying to be the nation's top science whiz kids. Top prize in the Siemens Westinghouse Science and Technology competition, $100,000 in scholarships. In sports, Rangers, Islanders, and Knicks all have home advantage tonight. Finally, here's Jim McFadden with your weekend forecast.
Thank you, Kara. What a nice day we have on tap for you today. One storm system that we had with the snow yesterday will be moving out to sea. That'll allow some high pressure to build into the area. Some lake effect snows right now throughout the Great Lakes. Next storm system now is throughout the northern plains, and it'll be headed towards us, giving us more clouds for the day on Sunday and some rain likely starting Sunday night. So for today, mix of sun and clouds, unseasonably cool. Temperatures will basically be into the mid to upper 30s. So if you haven't gotten the tree yet or decorated the outside of the house today, would not be a bad day to do that. For tonight, mostly clear skies and quite cold. Temperatures mid to upper 20s. Some spots could hit a 30-degree. For you mariners out there, there are no advisories. Winds at the northwest, 10 to 15 knots. Visibility looks pretty good. And then your extended forecast. On Sunday, more clouds. On Monday, some unstable weather comes to town, but temperatures basically hold into the 40s throughout the period. Stay tuned. There is more News 12 coming up.
Welcome to the Family Pet. Here's your host, Dr. Jonathan Greenfield.
Hi, and welcome to the Family Pet. Have you ever had the problem in your house where you've got a lot of kids and every child wants their own pet? One wants a horse, one wants a cat, one wants a dog, and you have all kinds of problems deciding who's going to get what or if you're going to get a lot of pets. Well, we're going to introduce you to a family today that has 11 pets, and wait till you meet them. They're a lot of fun. And we'll talk about how they make that decision. But because of the holiday time, we want to also mention that there's some tips we'd like to give you around the holiday season to be careful with your pets, because there are certain things we want you to watch for. Most of all, be careful of tinsel. Cats love tinsel, they love to eat it, and when it gets in their intestinal tract, it can really create all kinds of havoc and sometimes even require surgery. There are certain foods you have to be careful about. Watch out for chocolate. Everybody has chocolate around this time of year. Chocolate can be very toxic to your dogs and pets. Watch out for those lights in the extension cords. They're running all around the back of the tree or hanging from the menorah, and the animals can get trapped in them or even sometimes chew on them and get electrocuted, so be careful of that. Ribbons and strings, just like the tinsel, can cause a real problem. The animals, it's colorful, the animals love to chew on it, and you can have a real problem getting into their intestinal tracts, causing lots of problems. And the holiday trees and the plants and the ornaments, be careful that make sure they're well mounted, especially the tree, because the animal goes along and kind of plays with the ornaments a little bit and pulls the tree over. It can be a real problem. So make sure that that tree is well mounted. If your pet is outside, and remember this is a cold time of year, make sure they have plenty of insulation, make sure their water is kept fresh all the time. And lastly, kind of remember that your pets believe in Santa as well. So don't forget them and make sure you get a nice present for them as well. Okay, what I'd like to do is introduce you to a wonderful family, the Kagan family, and we've got Larry and his daughter Erica with us today. Erica is 14. These folks have, as I mentioned, 11 pets in their house. I mean, it must be a menagerie. Larry, I mean, this has got to be something that you had to be a family decision. I mean, how many animals are enough?
Well, we used to have 20 different animals, believe it or not, and that was way too much. Right now, 11 is very manageable. We had hamsters at a point, and we don't have those anymore. We had geckos, which we had to feed crickets to. It depends really how much help I get from the children and the family, because a lot of the responsibility does ultimately fall on me to take care of the pets and make sure they're fed and their food is around and the cages are cleaned.
That's the next question I would ask. With the 3 children, and we're going to have your other 2 children on in just a minute, how much do the kids, are they getting responsibility from this? I mean, how do you convince these kids that, hey, you guys got to help?
Well, it doesn't really take too much convincing. It is a family effort. With so many animals around, they all pitch in. There's a lot of teamwork. There's a lot of group effort. At times when I'm out of town, the children have to fill in and do all the jobs. And what I'll do is make out a sheet, a check-off sheet with all the different responsibilities, and every single day. And the children, after they do it, will check it off, and this way we can keep track that everything is done and all the animals are getting cared for.
Well, Erica, you're responsible for the dogs, so why don't you introduce the 2 dogs that you brought along today and tell us who they are.
Well, this is Bandit. He's a Jack Russell Terrier. He's 2 years old. And this here's Chelsea, and she's a Chesapeake Bay Retriever, and she's about 8. And
I mean, are you responsible for the feeding and caring of these guys?
basically I take care of their feeding, and my sisters help me sometimes. But what we do is we give them hard food, so it's cleaning their teeth at the same time. We don't add any water because then the food sticks to their teeth, and it could cause whatever. It could cause bad stuff for their teeth.
Now, when you have to walk 2 dogs, that's a big responsibility. How do you man, you're trying to jump up there. How do you walk 2 dogs at the same time?
Well, we don't walk them. We have an invisible fence, and what that is we can just let them go outside, and they can run around the whole yard wherever they want to go.
What keeps them in the yard?
The fence is in the ground. It's an electric fence. And they wear this collar, and what it is, I'll open it for you. This goes on their neck, and what happens is it doesn't hurt them at all. We put them on, and in the ground,
Why don't I show the folks this? It's got 2 prongs on it, and you put this around their neck, and then what happens?
if they cross over the fence, then they get an electric shock.
Okay, so it's not a real fence, it's just a wire in the ground?
Yeah, it's a wire in the ground.
And how did you train them not to go through the fence?
Well, what happened was, when we first put it in, we put flags or cones where the fence ran, and we take the dog to the fence or the wire, and we pull him over, and he'd get a shock, and then we pull him back really fast, and then gradually we take every other cone off. So, and then they would find out where it was.
Did it work well for the puppy, for Little Bandit?
Yes, it worked really well because he's very active. Jack Russells are very active dogs. They like to run around a lot. So what happens is in the morning, we can just let him outside, and he runs around the house about 4 times because he's so wild.
And that'll be my next topic, because I know Jack Russells are very, very active dogs. He basically exercises himself?
Yes, basically. We take him in the pool sometimes. He's a good swimmer.
Oh, that's unusual.
Yeah,
That's really well. Now, the cleanup for these guys, since you're letting them out in the yard, who takes care of that?
my dad normally takes care of it.
Oh, poor Larry. Okay.
That's right. I have a giant pooper scooper.
Larry, as you mentioned earlier, a lot of the work for all these animals falls on you and your wife Ellen. How did you convince the kids, or should I say, is there any reward system that you worked out where the kids, if they do good deeds to take care of the animals, that
Yes.
be helped out?
Yes, absolutely. We each have weekly responsibilities, and assuming the children do their weekly responsibilities, they all get things that they want. Things like staying up late, going on sleepovers with their friends, going to the mall for Erica. Whatever incentives that are particular to the individual children. So if we all get the chores done around the house, then we have time to go and enjoy ourselves.
And for a 14-year-old, going to the mall has got to be a lot of fun, right?
Extremely.
That's your best pastime. Erica, tell us a little bit about what you've learned from taking care of these 2 dogs.
Well, basically, I've learned responsibility because I know that if I wake up one morning and I don't want to do it, I have to do it because they're living animals too, and if I don't, then they can die or get sick or get dehydrated if I don't give them water. And
That's a lot of work, and we certainly commend you for doing it, because they certainly do well taken care of, and we certainly do appreciate that. We're going to take a break here for just a minute and come back and meet another one of the Kagan relatives and see how they take care of their little pets. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
12 is brought to you in part by IKEA. Visit IKEA off LIE exit 41 South or online at IKEA.com.
What would you do to have a little more hair? Would you spritz a little? Would you spray a little? Would you comb over and pray a little? Or spritz a little more? Frightened by surgery? Scared of drugs that cause impotence? Underwhelmed by conventional hair replacement? So, just what would you do to have a little more hair? How about something that works? Foligraft, the non-invasive hair graft. Foligraft isn't surgery. It isn't conventional hair replacement. Foligraft is somewhere in between. Look at how regular hair looks under 90 times magnification. Now look at how Foligraft looks under 90 times magnification. Now look at them side by side. Now, see for yourself with your own eyes. Foligraft guarantees a significant increase in hair density. Without surgery, without drugs. Foligraft is the non-invasive hair graft. It's a whole new alternative in hair restoration. Find out more about it by calling for this information packet. Call HRC at 1-800-HAIR-311. That's 1-800-HAIR-311.
Wait, dear, you're passing up all the good stuff. Oh, look.
It's Harrow's Tree Day Sale. 6-foot tree, $19.99. 7-foot pine, $29.99. 7-foot pre-lit tree, $69.99. Plus a free 2-foot Harmony Bear with trees over $75.
Oh, dear, now that's real savings.
100 net lights, $5.99. 48-inch lighted 3D reindeer, $39.99. 32-inch fiber optic tree, $19.99. The Tree Day Sale through Tuesday at Harrow's.
At the Fortune Off Christmas store, we've cut prices on Christmas trees so low, the only thing less expensive is nothing at all. Choose from the largest selection of lifelike trees, like our brand new 6-foot fiber optic trees starting at $249. Or our ready-to-plug-in 7.5-foot pre-lit trees starting at $299. Plus, with any tree purchase of $150 or more, get this musical carousel, a $60 value absolutely free at the Fortune Off Christmas store.
If you're serious about audio, then your choice is Five Towns College.
If you're serious about video, then your choice is Five Towns College.
If you're serious about film, music,
or theater, then your choice.
Then your choice.
Then your choice is Five Towns College.
If you're serious. If you're serious.
If you're serious about
audio,
video,
film, music,
or theater, then your choice is Five Towns College.
Hi, welcome back to The Family Pet. We're talking with the Kagan family about having multiple pets in your family, lots of pets, and we've got one of the Kagan daughters, another one on. This is Rebecca. She's only a young one. You're, what, 10 years old, right? Well, this is great. Now, this is a lot of responsibility for a 10-year-old. I understand you're responsible for taking care of the birds in the family.
Yes, I am.
And what do you do?
Well, I feed them every day. I give them water and bird seeds, vegetables.
How about cleaning their cage?
Yes, I do. I help my dad clean the cage in the summer. Summertime is fun because we get to wear our bathing suits.
And take the cage outside and wash them down? Do you have to use soap and water?
Yes, we do. My dad has these special sponges that we clean the cages.
Well, why don't you introduce your birds to us? Now, over here on the right of the camera is going to be our little cockatiel, and what's her name?
That's Sunny, and he's very nice, and he's the most friendliest one. He's very nice. This is Darla. She's a green Quaker.
And that's one next to her.
And she is the one that mostly likes me. She doesn't really like anyone else. The next one is Mango. He's a Sun Conure. And everyone thinks he's very beautiful because he has lots of colors in him.
Lots of colors, the orange and yellow and green. How these birds, when you say that she only likes you mean not your friends can't come over and play with the birds?
Yeah, whenever my friends come over to pet her, she does this thing with her head that makes it like tells them that she doesn't like them. And
Larry, what do you do when you got to go on vacation and you've got all these animals. I mean, you've got birds and we're going to have the turtles and stuff and dogs. What do you do with all these animals?
Well, one thing, we don't just go to Montauk Point, because you might as well go across the country because it's the same amount of work to take the birds and the animals and farm them out. What we do is we bring them to different people. The dogs go to different places. The birds go together, but they go to a different home. The reptiles go to different homes. And
so you have a lot of friends.
A lot of friends, yeah. Yeah.
And don't go on vacation very much.
What typically happens, though, is after we leave the birds with them, or the reptiles, they'll end up getting birds or reptiles. So a lot of times after enjoying them for a couple of weeks, they'll want to have an animal like this also.
Wow. Now, Rebecca, we've got all these birds right here on the perch, and they all seem to be getting along so nicely. Is that, did they live together nicely at the house, or do they each have their own cages at the house?
Well, mostly they do, but the Quaker Darla, the green one, and the Sun Conure Mango, the colorful one, they mostly stay together. They're very friendly to each other. But Sunny, the green Quaker, doesn't really like him because Darla sort of gets jealous when I go near Sunny because she really loves me.
Because she loves you, right?
Yeah.
And she doesn't like anybody else touching her. Do you allow them to fly around the house?
Yeah, we do sort of because well, Mango and Darla, the green one and the colorful one, they usually like to stay in their cage, but Sunny, the gray one, he likes traveling around the house.
And so you don't worry about him knocking into things and chewing on your mom's plants and things like that?
Well, he doesn't usually do that. He just walks around.
Who takes care of their clipping their wings, and I noticed their wings are clipped, and cutting their nails? Who does that?
Well, my dad takes them to a pet store, and they cut their wings and their nails.
Okay, so they're not flying all over the house.
No.
What do you feed these little guys?
We feed we feed them sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds and all these different kind of fruits.
They got fruits and vegetables also?
Dried out ones.
Dried ones. Oh, very nice. Well, they're beautiful birds, and you've taken care of them very well, and I'm sure your daddy and mommy are very proud of the work you've done. I mean, they're really gorgeous. Larry, when you got the birds, was there any particular order that you got them in, or did you just get them all at once?
Yeah, at first we experimented. We got a relatively inexpensive bird. We got a cockatiel. We all fell in love with the bird. We loved the bird so much that we wanted to get another bird. So we went out and we got a Quaker, which was the next step up price-wise. And we loved the Quaker so much that shortly thereafter we went out and got a Sun Conure, which is even a little bit higher up the scale in terms of price. But they're all beautiful, and birds make great family pets.
Now, Rebecca, I understand that you've taught these guys a little trick.
Yes, I did.
Well, what do they do?
Well, I taught them how to dance. I taught them how by one time in the pet room, well, we have a pet room with all the pets, and there's a radio. So I turned it on, and I was just listening to it when I was playing on the computer, and all of a sudden, Darla, the Quaker, she started shaking her head and twirling around.
Well, why don't we see if we can get to do it. Larry, I know you've got some little
music.
Ricky Martin here today.
Yep, here we go.
Let's see what happens. Let's see if we can get him to do a little thing. Yeah, there you go. All right. There you go. Well, if you folks can hear that, that's kind of a lot of fun. Oh, yeah, sure. Oh, everybody's getting into it now. This is good. Great. Okay, we're gonna take a break here for just a minute and come back and meet one more daughter from the Kagan family, and we'll talk about her wonderful little pets. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
If you've been hurt by anything, a car accident, a fall, a doctor, a hospital, you may be entitled to a large cash award. To find out, call 1-800-LAWYERS right now. The call is free, the advice is free, and we stay open 24 hours, 7 days a week. We're open New Year's Eve at midnight. So call 1-800-LAWYERS. We're there right now to answer all your questions absolutely free.
It's time to deck your floors with Montauk Carpet.
You betcha. You know, lots of folks want to spruce up their homes before company comes. So, it's a great time for a carpet sale.
At Montauk, the Northeast's largest flooring superstore, you'll find unbeatable quality and values on beautiful broadlooms, remnants, area rugs, and handmade orientals.
And Mohawk makes it easy to make the right carpet choice.
At Montauk Rug and Carpet's Happy Holiday Sale, Price Parkway at Route 110, Farmingdale.
So come visit us before everyone visits you.
Murphy. You guys are dead. Kill him.
Isaiah.
He's dead. Justin.
Timothy.
Got it. JB.
Spencer.
Ooh, Spencer. I'm scared.
Is your mom still dressing you?
Which one, please? Big E.
Okay, kids, let's put the ball away and start the debate.
Through key joint ventures and strategic acquisitions, we're building the new Philips.
I work out of my home. I develop software electronically with other members of my IBM team.
DeVry graduate Teresa Krupa has the life she wants and the career she always dreamed of.
DeVry gave me a degree that put me in demand with major companies like IBM, and that gave me choices on how to live.
It takes the right education, the right credentials to have a career with this freedom.
I knew where I was going when I chose DeVry.
Call 1-800-DeVry-11 for a higher degree of success.
Hello, I'm J.O. Sanders. You know, you have the power to do so much. Simply donate your old but usable clothing to the St. Vincent de Paul Society. Thanks to your donation, St. Vincent de Paul is able to fund Ryan House, Anthony House, Dismas House, and 3 Bethany houses which help homeless Long Islanders in crisis. On behalf of over 1,000 Vincentian volunteers, we appreciate your support. Please use your vital, important power to help St. Vincent de Paul today.
News 12 is brought to you in part by Mateo's Restaurant, a family tradition, from our family to yours.
Hi, welcome back to The Family Pet. We're talking about having multiple pets in your house, lots of pets. We're talking with the Kagan family, and we have another one of the Kagan daughters here with us, and this is the youngest one, little Jessica. She's 7 years old, and your interest is mostly in the reptiles, and these little kind of prehistoric looking guys. Why do you like reptiles? Why do you like turtles?
Because all my friends don't have them, and I'm lucky because I have them.
You have a lot of them. How many do you have? You got almost 5 different reptiles? What's that big green thing in the corner there? What's that called?
It's an iguana.
An iguana. Now, how big was that little iguana? It's awful big now. How big was he when you got him?
It was about this big.
A little tiny thing. So he's grown a lot. What do you feed him?
I feed him cut up food.
Uh-huh.
And the tortoise also lives with the iguana.
Oh, they live together?
Yeah.
So this is, the iguana doesn't live in this carrier that we have here. They have a big place that they live in?
Yeah.
And that tortoise is a real old-timer, isn't he? He's probably a lot older than you are, isn't he?
Yeah.
Larry, how long have you had the tortoise?
Actually, the tortoise isn't older than Jessica. The tortoise is about 4 years old now. The tortoise also we got as a very small animal, and the tortoise has grown tremendously and will continue to grow. That tortoise is supposed to be 150 pounds when he's fully grown.
Fully grown. So, and he looks like he's trying to work that way already. What do you, I mean, are there any specific diets that you have to feed a tortoise?
Yes, yes. The tortoise and the iguana are on the same diet.
Mm-hmm.
They like lettuce, peas. What else do they like, Jess?
Tomatoes.
Uh-huh. They like tomatoes, all sorts of fruits and vegetables. And what we do is we sprinkle the food, we put in some vitamins in a salt shaker, and we sprinkle the food with the vitamins. There's some calcium in here as well. And this way we're assured that they're going to get all the nutrients that they need for their shell and for their health.
They look very, very healthy. And also we have in the tank here, we have some, these are turtles. Now what's the difference between a turtle and a tortoise? Do you know?
The tortoise lives on land. Right. And the turtles live in water.
Live in the water, right, right. And so they live quite differently. And I imagine their food is quite different too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, what do you feed the turtles that we have in the tank here?
I feed them a little bit of logs.
Those are the logs. I want you to show those, just tilt those so the folks can see that. And so this is already pre-mixed food. See that? There we go. This is pre-mixed food, and all they have to do is eat that, and that's a balanced diet, and that's enough for them?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you give them other things besides?
I give them this, and they also have treats.
Treats? What do you? I know a dog likes milk bones, but what do you give a turtle for a treat?
There's sometimes these little treats and
Bugs.
bugs.
Oh, bugs. Ooh, creepy crawlies. Do you like handling creepy crawly bugs?
No.
You don't like to do that. So who do you get, Daddy and Mommy to do that for you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea. Well, when your friends come over and they see all these prehistoric creatures here, do they like that?
Yeah, they think the iguana is fake, but I tell them it's real.
Okay. Now, the iguana, he definitely looks like an old dinosaur. Can you handle him, or do you just have to kind of look at him and not really handle him too much?
You can't really handle him. You have to look at him.
But he is beautiful, and I imagine everybody kind of looks at him. Do you let him get out of the cage and walk around on the floor?
No.
No, he kind of stays in. Have you ever lost your pets?
Yeah.
These the guys in the house? I mean, did they get hidden in corners somewhere? What happened?
The iguana, we lost him, and he was, and my neighbor went downstairs, and he thought it was a toy, so he picked it up and he found it.
Oh, wow, that was very nice of him to come and help you. Well, we certainly thank you, Larry, for helping us out here today and bringing your daughters, wonderful children, and thank Ellen, too, for putting up with all this. And it was really wonderful for you guys to come in. And until next week, we want to say good night to the family pet, and until next weekend, we say bye-bye.
Animal Planet's panel of experts
Stop lying!
use dogged interrogation
Who does your hair?
to ferret out the truth.
Liar!
You lie like a dog. A game show so wild, it needs a flea collar.
That's not right.
You lie like a dog. Weeknights at 7 Eastern. Only on...
A gain for the year of more than 21%, which puts the Dow on track for an unprecedented fifth straight year of husky advances. The comeback of many big cyclical stocks, those tied closely to the fortunes of the overall economy, helped the Dow outstrip the broader S&P 500's advance, but the biggest winner was the technology-driven NASDAQ, again the market's shining star. But there was little to weep about for investors in any of the indexes, as even the small stock Russell 2000 posted an 8% gain after a losing year in 1998. To the continuing astonishment of the dwindling band of die-hard gold bugs, gold sank even further this year, as central banks fled the metal in search of happier returns, though silver eked out an advance. The still formidable U.S. dollar racked up further gains against nearly all other currencies, moving up nearly 15% against Europe's new currency, the euro. Meanwhile, the U.S. economy has continued to plow ahead, extending a non-stop advance since early 1991 that still shows no signs of an imminent end. And despite occasional whiffs and numerous scary forecasts, the inflation zealots once again proved to be issuing false alarms. Even after a one-month jolt in April that terrorized the bond market, consumer prices now show an annual increase of barely more than 2%. Confounding the academic theorists who regarded them as opposing indicators, both inflation and unemployment have remained low together. The slight uptick to 4.3% reported today still left unemployment at its lowest levels in nearly 3 decades. The bond ghouls came out of hiding this year, worried that all that growth just had to produce inflation sometime. They sent the yield on 30-year Treasury bonds up from a historic low below 4 3/4% last October to more than 6 1/8% in June. It's an even 6% today. Many savers closely watch the yield on money market funds, but there hasn't been much to cheer them in the past couple of years. The average taxable fund was yielding 4.84% at the start of 1997, and it's yielding about a half point less than that today. Oil has reversed a price decline that took it below $11 a barrel last December, but even the big increase in 1999 to close to $20 a barrel leaves the price right around its average of the past 18 years. As usual, the U.S. trade deficit is setting a record this year. A baby born when the U.S. last saw a monthly trade surplus would have turned 23 years old this spring. And where do we go from here? The Conference Board's index of so-called leading economic indicators has been anemic in 1999, even registering 1 down month, but overall suggesting a continuance of the expansion, if perhaps at a slightly slower pace in the months ahead. Liz Ann Sonders, which of these numbers had the most influence on the financial markets over the past 6 months?
I think overall economic growth, not so much inflation, because I think certainly the Fed is focused more on economic growth and that they want to make a preemptive move to strike against inflation. I think that will continue to be a factor going into the second half of the year.
How do you expect that growth to be in the second half?
A lot of it really depends on the consumer. Consumer confidence has really been growing quite rapidly, and the consumer is represented such a good component of economic growth that I really think that that has to be the component that hangs in there in order for economic growth to remain as strong as it has.
John Dessauer, what's your answer?
Well, I think the interest rate picture had a great deal to do with the financial market performance and the fact that rates did not go up in the United States and went down most everywhere else in the world.
And you've already indicated you expect them to continue further down. Why don't you put a number on it? Where do you expect those rates to go?
I think the Fed's going to have to take back the quarter and give up another quarter sometime in the next 12 months, and I would guess that the long bond will be heading down towards 5 or 5 1/4 by the time we see the snowfall in this coming winter.
Let me make sure I understand the first part of your answer. You think that the short-term federal funds rate will come down?
A half a point from where it is right now.
So it'll be lower than it was at the start of this year?
Exactly. Just like 1984.
All righty. Brian Rogers?
Lou, I'm with Liz Ann. I think growth is the most important thing that we've seen this year and has had the most impact on the markets. But I think it's not just been the U.S. I think it's the perception that global growth is picking up in terms of the Asian markets and Japan and Latin America, and the crisis we had last fall that caused so many people to worry appears to be dissipating. And so I think it's global growth that's been a positive for the U.S. markets.
Laszlo?
Well, I also agree with Liz Ann, but I think it's because the consumer is confident, the consumer is flush, and the consumer is fueling this market. We continue to see buying by individuals, both directly and indirectly through funds. So as long as growth is there, the consumers are going to be confident he's going to keep spending money on the stock market.
What would be your growth forecast for the rest of the year?
Oh, I guess I'm still in the 3.5% range.
And you think that's perfectly tolerable for the Fed and for the markets?
Yes, sir.
All righty, and now in keeping with the spirit of our 4th of July party, let's see how hot these hot dogs were in giving you last New Year's their recommended investments for 1999. In what is traditionally the absolute toughest competition anywhere in investing, we ask our panelists each New Year's Eve to submit their best stock recommendations for the year ahead, a list that they are not allowed to alter for any reason for the next 12 months. Liz Ann Sonders, in just your second year as a panelist, you're running first among all 25 panelists as a stock picker. You were notably overcautious in your Dow predictions, forecasting a high of just 10,300. We're already more than 800 points above that one, and a low more than 900 points below the actual low, at least so far, of 9120.67. But oh, your stocks. As computed by our friends at Bloomberg Financial Markets, none of the 11 stocks you picked show a loss, a feat unmatched by any other panelist this year. And your average gain of more than 45%, more than doubled the Dows and tripled the S&Ps. So way to go, Liz Ann.
Thank you.
John Dessauer, you spend lots of time in Switzerland, but there is nothing cheesy about your stock picking performance. You too were overly grim about the Dow's chances. Your low prediction, for example, was 76.45. So, of course, we do have 6 months still to go. Your list of 8 stocks showed a total return of 43.8% and featured a near triple in LSI Logic, which Laszlo also picked, and which trailed only Tom Gallagher's EchoStar Communications as the single best recommendation of all. So again, John, willkommen. Brian Rogers, you've joined Liz Ann in debuting on a mid-year program, though you were even gloomier about the Dow, which you thought wouldn't even reach 10,000 in 1999. But I think people will forgive that if you keep giving them specific winners, and that you surely did. Your 10 recommendations are up an average 42.2% in 6 months. So congratulations. Keep charging. Laszlo Brini, we may have to make this a permanent invitation to you. Not only have your consistently excellent stock selections earned you a place in the Wall Street Week with Louis Rukeyser Hall of Fame, but you seem determined not ever to take a breather and give the rest of the crowd a chance. Your Dow high prediction of 12,010 was the highest of any panelist and is looking less silly all the time. And your low forecast of 9,000 is running second only to Frank Cappiello's 9,200. And on this hot 4th of July weekend, your dazzling dozen of stocks are up a cool 41.4%. So whatever you're drinking, please don't stop. But enough of this praise. What have these people done for us lately? For starters, here's their chance to wipe the egg off their faces and update their predictions for the Dow, giving us their latest and, where necessary, appropriately revised forecasts for the second half of 1999. Liz Ann Sanders.
Well, I suppose I should add a few points to my high and close. I'll add, say, 2,000 points to the high and say maybe 12,300 to 500. Probably close a little bit lower than that, maybe about 12,000, and we might end up selling off back down to around the 10,000 level.
John?
I'm not going to disagree a whole lot. I'm going to choose as a high 11,900, not quite making the 12,000 mark. And for the close, a little bit lower, 11,500, and I think we will go down and test the 10,000 level at some point. So I'm going to say 9,800 for the low.
Fine.
Lou, I'm going to say our high will be 11,400, and we're, in my opinion, we're almost there, with a low of 9,000 and a close of 9,750.
Laszlo.
Well, I'm going to stay with my high. I think that we might go down to 10,500 again, and I was expecting we'll probably close near the high, near 12,000.
All righty. And now with our usual warning that even investment all-stars like these could occasionally, dare I say it, strike out, let's ask these sluggers to try to hit some second-half home runs for us by revealing the specific investments they are now recommending for the rest of 1999. Liz Ann?
I like, of names not on my list currently, I like WorldCom. And for some of the smaller stocks, I like Harley-Davidson, Sylvan Learning Systems, EMC, BMC Software.
Any thread to that list?
Not terribly much. Obviously, there's still a technology theme there and kind of innovation and even an internet theme there. So I still have that focus in the portfolio.
John?
Well, I'd like to go and pick up some of the stock that did rather poorly in the first half. And one of the poorest performers in the S&P 500 was Rite Aid, so I would add that to the list. And in the banking sector, where I still think there's some excitement to go, I would pick Union Planters now. And on the other side of the list, I'd raise a caution flag about two of my stocks that did really well, Citigroup and LSI Logic.
Sell them?
I would sell and switch into Union Planters and Rite Aid. I would at this point, yes.
The Rite Aid recommendation is interesting in view of the controversies going on about Medicare prescriptions. How do you think that'll be resolved?
Well, I think Rite Aid is showing themselves as being a real competitor in that business, and that's why their competition is complaining, and they continue to gobble up those complainers and add them to their list. And they actually claim they can make a small profit on those prescriptions, and then they make the real profit on what the people buy when they're in the stores. So I think that's a plus.
Your switch from Citigroup to Union Planters will dismay New York and delight Memphis. What's behind that?
Well, the idea is just that I think I've heard that John Reed and Sandy Weil are not really getting along all that well. I don't know that for sure, but that's what I hear. Any mega merger like that is going to run into some difficulties. The stock has done extremely well, and I think it just can't carry that kind of performance out in the second half. Whereas Union Planters, their problems are behind them.
Brian?
Lou, of my original picks, the one that's lagged that I still think represents good value is Neiman Marcus, a high-end retailer, and a couple of other names for the second half would be Abbott Labs, Disney, which is very controversial even as we speak today, and perhaps something like Hershey Foods.
We always like at least one Mickey Mouse recommendation.
Well, you'll get it in that one.
Laszlo?
Two names. One name in the technology area that's starting to come back where I see selling drying up is Compaq. Compaq computer, a lot of problems, but again, selling's drying up. Secondly, telephone and data systems. Telephone area is obviously one that's very much interest and a lot of play. So two additional names, those two.
One group that you were high on for a while that you soured on a bit was the drugs. What do you feel about that now?
I'm still a little troubled with that. I think that, once again, Bill Clinton is raising some issues there, and we're seeing a little bit of selling, especially in the pharmaceuticals, stocks like Pfizer and Merck, and so I'd be cautious there.
One brokerage house that has enthusiastically recommended Pfizer at 150, downgraded it at 100. Is that the way they operate in Wall Street?
Unfortunately, it is.
Let's talk a little bit, since you mentioned Bill Clinton and Washington. How is Washington going to impact the rest of this year, you think, Laszlo?
Hopefully not. I think one thing you have to remember in this market has been a tremendous amount of psychology, and that when Clinton's ratings started to sag, it sort of coincided with the market sagging. And I'm not sure it's tit for tat, but I think that it's very important that people continue to feel good about the economy and about the political situation. So I wouldn't just dismiss cavalierly the lame duck issue.
You think not much is going to happen in Washington, and that's good for Wall Street?
I hope so.
All righty. There we do have to stop. I want to thank our four panelists for proving again that they are among the world's best sports. I think they've demonstrated that again tonight. I hope you'll all be back again next week. I won't be. Having taken every major index to a record, single-handedly tamed the Fed, and set the stage for a beautiful summer rally in both stocks and bonds, I thought it was finally safe for me to take a vacation. But I hope you'll join my friend and colleague, Marty Zweig, who will be sitting in for me as host of Wall Street Week and talking with one of the top-notch mutual fund managers in the business, Robert Streed. Meanwhile, this has been Wall Street Week. I'm Louis Rukeyser. Good night, and have a happy holiday.
Wall Street Week with Louis Rukeyser is produced in association with Rukeyser Television Incorporated by Maryland Public Television, made possible by the annual financial support from viewers like you, by Prudential Securities. With more than 5,600 financial advisors nationwide, Prudential Securities provides